all voting members of the Academy have nominated the following films for Best Picture.
Well, 13 might be unlucky for some, but not for us, because this is episode 13, and we have the pleasure of reviewing the 9 films nominated for Best Picture at the upcoming Academy Awards.
Okay, let's go. I have to say, to start with, I think it could have been 10.
Absolutely, yeah.
Having seen a few more of the films now.
Yeah. But I'm really, really pleased. I think it's a really good batch this year, and it will be a memorable year, especially with 8 of the 9 have 6 nominations each or above.
Mm.
And with Joker at the top with 11, then 3 other films beneath that with 10 each. This has never really happened before.
No, I think it's a very strong year because they've all been nominated for the same sorts of things. It's those same films coming up, and some of them have really stuck with me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so we did this episode really because we talk about these films a lot, but we don't necessarily review a lot of films. So what kind of reviewer do you think you are?
Well, it all depends on the film, really. I think
Oh,
I
yeah.
could probably be a bit harsh if I really didn't enjoy the film. I will, But on the other side of that, I think I'm quite open to having my mind changed.
Yeah, that's good to know because I think in the past you haven't been so flexible
Yes,
with
I
your
I
opinions.
can be very dismissive, but I feel like I'm becoming more and more critical, I have to say.
Yeah.
What kind of reviewer do you think you are?
Objective, we know that.
Mhm.
Today, I'm going to be harsh.
Oh.
They're all in a category of best, and this is
Mhm.
a competition after all.
Mhm.
And we've been singing the praises of a lot of these films for weeks and weeks and weeks. So if there's ever a time to be nitpicky, it's going to be now.
Yeah.
So even the films that I love, I'm probably going to be quite harsh on them. There's always room for improvement. So,
Okay, so you're bad cop today then. Okay.
not all bad cop. So the first film we're going to talk about, which we both watched this week for the first time, is Parasite. I thought this was brilliant. I love this. What I like about it, maybe the most, is that it feels so simple. The story is so basic, but at the same time, it's so original as well, in a way where it's hard to place into any one genre, really. I thought it was going to be like a surreal comedy, but actually, what you get is hybrid elements of other genres. So it's like a drama and a mystery and a thriller, and at times it felt a bit like a horror film. It was a sign of a
Mhm.
great director because he was inventing something new. Of all of the 9, it's hard for me to say what could have been better because it was clear on what it wanted to do, what it was, what it wanted to say. It really knew itself. So in that respect, I thought it was brilliant. And the fact that the trailer didn't give many plot details away, I'm actually really impressed by, because you could tell that there were going to be twists,
Mhm.
but they weren't the twists that you were expecting. And in ways, it was much darker than it could have been. All the metaphors and the subtext and the themes about class divide and inequality and capitalism, all that stuff. I think it's just downright genius, and it's perfectly balanced with the story. One doesn't overshadow the other at any moment in the film. Great performances all round. I'd love to see it win Best Picture. I'm rooting for it.
Okay. I'm unfortunately, you're not gonna like this. I'm on the other side of the scale. I really struggled with some of it. I had to stop it twice just to take like 5 minutes and then go back to it.
Really?
Yeah, I felt it was slow in a suspenseful way. It was like easing you up to this, what's going to happen. And I think the last 10 minutes were absolutely crazy. I wasn't expecting that. There were definitely things I liked about it. I thought it was a very twisty screenplay. So I think its chances at original screenplay are very high.
Mm.
There was great use of location. The house is pretty much a character.
Mm-hmm.
The messages about class were very poignant. They really weren't in your face, which a few films are when it comes to messages like that. But for me, all comes down to personal kind of tropes and things like that. And I always struggle following a film with unlikable characters.
You thought they were unlikable?
Yeah, I really could not get on board with the family because I just couldn't agree with what they were doing.
See, I think that's part of the fun. I think it's fun when you find yourself rooting for people who are doing bad things.
But I did like where it went. I liked when, you had the old housekeeper come back. That's when it kind of slips into something
Yeah.
different and you're like, wow, this is actually it's taken a turn for a very different film now, because it looks like it's going to be one film all the way, and then that is like the end of a chapter and the beginning of a new one.
Yeah.
So it's definitely got high points, but it's not really made high on my list, really. I can see what people see in it. I can definitely see why Bong Joon-ho's in the director conversation. Absolutely, definitely see that. Screenplay, yes. It's definitely going to win international feature
100%.
without a
Yeah.
doubt. And I can see why it's in the best picture, but it just, for me personally, it's not going to make, top of my list.
Okay. I think it translated really well to a Western audience. In some films, sometimes you listen to the dialogue and you think, I'm too far removed from that culture.
That culture, yeah, society doesn't quite link.
Exactly, yeah. But this one, and I guess in a way, he's directed English language films before with Snowpiercer and
Yeah.
Okja, both films I really enjoyed. So I really liked that it felt like it could have been set anywhere, and it could have been in any language, and it still would have
Yeah.
worked. So Parasite's nominated for 6 awards.
Mm-hmm.
How well do you think it will do? Because I think it could be the best ratio of nomination to wins.
It depends what direction they go in. They're either going
Yeah.
to really take this on board and it'll do extremely well,
Mhm.
or they're going to miss.
Yeah, it hinges on what mood the Academy's in.
Yeah.
I really hope that they're in a good mood with it,
Mm-hmm.
because this could be a game changer
Yeah.
going forwards.
Okay. So should we talk about Little Women then?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I had seen probably a good majority of the adaptations made before. I've just read the book.
Mhm.
So having got that kind of background to it, I think what Greta Gerwig did here was absolutely brilliant, really. She's taken what is a phenomenal, greatly loved American classic
Mhm.
and actually been able to change it and make it different, which is very hard to do. So I love that it's fresh. It feels fresh.
Yeah.
Even though it's old and it's got this old style to it. It's the Civil War era, and it feels almost like it could fit into a modern setting. Its sensibilities are similar,
Yeah.
which is why I think the family always relate with people, because they're a proper family. They talk over each other. Which I like as well. It's it's not like waiting for one person to finish, because that's not what sisters do. They just
No.
they all talk over each other, and so it was very realistic in that sense. I think it's really clever that she starts as adults and then flashes back, because they've already had their last day all together.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
They're never going to get that back. Wishing you could get back to childhood, something that you can never do.
Yeah.
Which is something that Joe is very scared of, is growing up and losing what they have.
Mhm.
I just think it's so clever. The costume's great. The performances all round were just such a high quality. It's got a lot of stars in it, but they're also grounded.
Mhm.
I think across the board, it was really good, because it has really it stuck in my brain.
Yeah, I saw this yesterday.
I was worried about this with you. I was a little bit
Well,
worried.
I'll start by saying I think the trailer is awful. It doesn't sell you on the depth that the story actually has. And when
Mhm.
you're new to the story, like I was, I'd imagine a lot of people would be put off because the trailer makes it look very superficial,
Mhm.
flowery, a little bit vomit-inducing because it's a bit over the top on the sentimentality,
Mhm.
maybe. I couldn't have been more wrong, and I think that trailer couldn't have been any worse because I actually loved it.
Good.
I knew I loved it because I didn't move at all in the entire duration, but I was transfixed and I was really, really sold on it. And I can only really echo what you've said, really.
Mhm.
Great performances all round. I believed the relationships, but the family as
Mhm.
a unit as well, and I thought they looked like a family as well.
Mhm.
Emma Watson, I'm not so sure yet. I don't think she's quite mastered American accents yet.
Mm,
I just still see her as very British. I'm not sure whether
yeah.
I would have cast her. In particular, I thought Saoirse Ronan was great. Florence Pugh, and I don't know why I ever doubted her because she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Laura Dern, I really liked in this. I don't remember ever watching anything and going, that was a great Laura Dern performance, even though she's always good.
Yeah.
And Timothy Chalamet, I thought, although an unconventional choice,
He just works in it.
I think they were all standouts in particular. I didn't know the story beforehand, but I could see how it was modernised to suit 2020.
Yeah.
The jumps between past and present. It was clever, a little hard to keep up with sometimes. Sometimes I
Yeah.
was mid-scene before I realised that I was in the wrong time period. Maybe it just could have been a little bit
Yeah.
tighter.
Quite a lot of people have said that, though.
On reflection, I maybe would have predicted Greta Gerwig's director nomination over Todd Phillips's had I seen it first.
Yeah.
And maybe it was actually better deserved than Todd Phillips for Joker as well. So it's got 6 nominations
Yeah.
overall. I personally can't see it winning more than 2,
Yeah.
maybe.
It could win for adapted screenplay, if they're so inclined to give Greta Gerwig something, you know, because they didn't nominate her for director. I think there's too many other strong contenders for it to get many, really, unfortunately.
Yeah. Right, okay. 1917?
Mm.
Oh, it's so good. That's the reason I'm going to be harsh.
Go on then.
Because we can sit and praise it all day. So I'll get that bit out of the way first.
Okay.
Obviously, the camera work is spectacular.
Yeah.
One of the most memorable bits for me is where they've gone down into a great big, slippery, muddy ditch, and there's a big pool of water in the middle, and there's bodies littered all around the edge.
Yeah.
And seamlessly, the camera goes down the slope and
Yeah.
then just glides over the water, and then back up the other side and over again. It's magic.
The technical hardship of actually doing that
Yeah.
as well. All behind the scenes, you don't see it happening, but they're like running around all over the place. They have to swap the camera off and hook it to a line and do all this. It's unbelievable, the technical achievement of it.
And I guess the illusion of having one take, again, I still argue that it's 2 takes, results in this mapping out of a vast obstacle course, I guess.
Yeah.
And you genuinely do believe it's there and coexists, even though these locations weren't together when it was filmed. That's credit to Sam Mendes,
Yeah.
who won the Directors Guild Award.
Yes, I'm chuffed to bits about it, actually.
Yeah. Though, this is where I'm going to start being harsh. It would
Okay.
be fair to say, I think, that you do distance yourself a little bit from a film like this to play Spot the Join and
Yeah.
how are they doing this?
Yeah, a lot of people have said that. A lot of people said
Yeah.
it brought them out of it because they were spotting where things were cutting.
And another thing, I think this is why the performances and screenplay haven't been so successful, is because obviously they're doing very long takes. The actors have had to rehearse full extended sequences of dialogue. It does feel a little bit theatrical, and Sam Mendes is a theatre director as well, which is fair. But sometimes it feels a little bit over rehearsed. I think it would have been nicer to have it feel a bit more natural and maybe a bit improvised at times, but it did feel very regimented. But all that aside, by God, does this film go places. Some of the sequences combined with the score, the camera work, the sets, the production design, the lighting, the colour, it was just stunning and breathtaking. And then the only other little criticism that I have is that I think some of like the cameos from well-known British actors was a little bit unnecessary.
It takes you out of it. You're like, oh, it's them.
Yes, exactly. Reserve them for films where it
Yeah.
doesn't matter that you're seeing stars.
I don't think that was as harsh as I was expecting.
Okay.
I have one thing to combat what you said there about the script, though. It had to be regimented because of the way that they built everything, and I think it should be more well known how they went about doing the screenplay, because I think then it would actually get more credit for being what it is. They had to build the script a certain way. It was going to be what it was because they then built the location and how long and how many yards it was via the script. So they had 6 months of preparation where they literally walked the script and then built the set, like, right, it has to be this long because it takes this long to say the script. So it all came hand in hand. So I think in that sense, it kind of had to be regimented because they built it to last that long. They had to be able to say that and get to this specific place by the time they'd said it. So I think that takes the improvisation out of it.
I suppose it's still an experimental film at the same time, and I really appreciate what it did.
What can I add? Because you've pretty much said it all.
I'm sorry.
All I can say for me is that it stayed with me. I can still picture shots. I think the bit where he goes to the town that's on fire,
Yeah.
that is absolutely stunning. There's shots in this film that are just, it's a work of
Mhm.
art. To an extent, I can see it, but it didn't really affect me so
Mhm.
much, only a little bit. The characters aren't very relatable.
No, I guess not. You don't really find out much about them either.
Yeah, I've heard people say that they struggle to get into it because of the characters. They couldn't get on board with the characters because they're quite cold.
Mhm.
Which I think that's the point. George McKay's character he is
Yeah.
cold. He's obviously seen a lot more than his colleague,
Yeah.
who doesn't seem to have seen as
Mhm.
much, experience what he's experienced, and it's hardened him.
Yeah.
So obviously that's meant to be part of it. But I do understand what people are saying. I think it didn't emotionally hit me.
Yeah. I think, like you say, on the one hand, they're obviously products of their environment.
Mhm.
They're not having a great time, and at the same time, they've obviously tried to make it so that these could be any two men
Any
from the
guys.
trenches. It could
Yeah.
have been anyone.
Mhm.
You don't come out of it saying, "Oh, I love this character, I love that character," but I guess that's
Yeah.
also not the
Yeah.
point.
And awards-wise
Mm.
for this, I think this is gonna come out with the most on the night.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna do really
it's got
well.
the technical categories on its side.
Yeah, I think cinematography is an absolute lock. I think
100%.
that's clear to say now that it's gonna get that.
Yep.
Now that Sam Mendes has won Best Director, I think that's probably quite clear he's gonna come out with that one. And I think this will take Best Picture.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it'll take it, and I'd be very, very pleased if it did.
It's got more of a claim than some of the other films
Yeah,
now.
I'm backing this one. That's the one I wanna
Mhm. Okay.
win. So, Jojo Rabbit then.
Mhm.
Now, you didn't like this, I know, I know. I really did like
Mhm.
this one actually, more than I expected, because satirical comedy doesn't really work for me. Sometimes it's not my cup of tea.
Mhm.
But this really did work. I think it was a risk because doing a comedy about Nazi Germany is always going to be a risk. But I think it balanced everything out perfectly. I loved it. I thought the look of it as well. I think production design and costume design were really great. I think it had its own look and its own style, and it really stood out. So I really enjoyed that. And I really actually thoroughly enjoyed, and I know you didn't, the blend of comedy and drama,
Yeah.
because it actually towed the line a lot of the time. Whereas it started as a comedy and a farce, and I think the character arc of Jojo
Mhm.
was fantastic. I think it started funny because his outlook as to what the Nazis were, from the way we look at it now, is comical. The fact that he's this fanboy for Hitler, and then the drama sets in later on, and there's a specific shock, which I think you didn't like because it was comedy right before it, and then there's this
Mhm.
really dramatic part. And yes, it doesn't make you maybe as emotional as it might, but I don't think it's supposed to be that way. I think it's supposed to be shocking rather than emotional,
Okay.
which worked for me. And I think his character art is fantastic because by the time you get to the end, he's like, "What on earth are we doing here? People are just people."
Mhm.
He obviously he's met and is having a relationship with a Jewish girl who is just a girl. He doesn't see her as a girl at first. He's writing a book about Jews and them being beasts and this, that, and the other, and and then at the end, he's completely changed his mind. And the way that he looks at his imaginary friend, who's Hitler at the beginning, who he looks up to and takes advice from, and even though it's ridiculous, and the portrayal of him is great because they just make him a pompous fool, which is what you would need to do to actually successfully make the film. I think
Mhm.
you couldn't portray him any other way for it to work. And by the end, he's got no voice, he's got no power over him anymore because his opinions have
Mhm.
changed. I just thought it really worked for me. Go on then, why did it not work for you?
I do agree with a lot of things that you've said, like the look
Hmm.
of the film, costumes and production, and all that stuff, and the character arc of Jojo. I do just mainly disagree where you say that it was balanced well. I don't think it was balanced well at all.
Hmm.
I think it would have worked better as two separate films. And looking at the source material that it's based on is a very dark, sad book about the Jewish girl hidden in the house.
Yeah.
So it is unusual to me that he's taken that and then infused it with a whole other film. So, in my opinion, either give me a comedy about the Hitler Youth or give me a drama about a Jewish girl hidden in the house. Flitting between the two for me was tonally confusing. It doesn't really give you enough time as a viewer to process how you're meant to be feeling at any one time about a character. Because one minute you're laughing at them, not with them, you're laughing at them, and then you're expected to be crying with them. Your position as a viewer is unclear, and I
Yeah.
get that does induce some shocks, but to what extent can you really be shocked in a film where people are dying anyway if someone dies, and you've been
Well,
laughing at it previously? To me, it
yeah.
needed to be a little bit more clearer cut about what it wanted you to feel about it. I feel like I got half of a comedy and I got half of a drama, but I didn't get a full Jojo Rabbit film. So that's my
Fair
main
enough.
gripe with it. But saying that the comedy really, really works and the satirical nature of the film really, really worked. And then I struggled a little bit with the casting of it all as well. Individually, I
Okay.
liked everyone a lot, but in what universe do we have Sam Rockwell and Scarlett Johansson giving really good performances, and then we've got Rebel Wilson and Taika Waititi doing really
Yeah.
over-the-top
Yeah.
comedy, and there was just a bit of a clash of acting style and an acting ability, really, and the accents I really, really struggled with. We get it, you're all English-speaking people. Do the film in English accents if you have to. I get it, you're playing Germans. Level it out a little bit and let's have it a bit more of a consistent playing field, because I don't think everyone was up to doing the accents, and there was kids as well, so I don't think it was going to work.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
I can see why there's a divide between audiences and critics, but I think I sit on the critic side.
Again, I can see all those points as well, though. So I do get that.
Yeah.
I think it's just it's one of those films, isn't it? You're gonna get one or the other. It is a very divisive film.
Well, it's divisive in terms of subject matter, which I think is why a lot of people have been divided, but not for me.
Yeah.
Just the film itself, the way it was done. I'd rather watch two separate films about these two separate topics.
Sometimes that's fine, though. I'm quite okay with people sitting on two different sides of it, though. I think that's quite
Well, it
interesting.
starts a conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, this I can totally see that.
Yeah. So this has got 6 nominations as well. Personally, I don't think it's going to come out with anything.
I think it could come out with costume, possibly. But I think that would be probably it.
Yeah.
Production design is good, but I think others are better.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't come out with that. I think it's
It
best
could
chances.
fall by the wayside.
Yeah, unfortunately, so yeah, it's probably not going to get a lot.
So those were the films really that we've not had a chance to talk about so much because they've not been out as long.
No.
And then I guess the other half now are the ones that we have talked about for a while.
Yeah.
The first of those is The Irishman. And I don't feel like I've really got a lot to say about this.
No, I really don't either.
It's not sat well with me over time. Not that it's bad, it's just it was obviously a return to the great Scorsese gangster film, and it does join that canon of great films that he's done, and he never produces a bad film, but this just isn't his best or the most memorable, really.
Because it's the same.
Maybe.
I think.
Yeah.
It's just more of the same.
Yeah. Its reputation is preceded now by how long it is.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make you want to rewatch it anytime soon. I can't see myself rewatching it for a good 30, 40 years. I could go without seeing it again. However, I do think the 3 lead performances were excellent and from veteran actors as well, so it's nice to see that. And I do think nominations for all of them would have been deserved, but at the same time I wouldn't have been upset if they were all replaced with the likes of like Willem Dafoe for The Lighthouse, Shia LaBeouf for Honey Boy, Song Kang-ho from Parasite, maybe even Taron Egerton for Rocketman. And then I guess another weird thing about this is the conversation around visual effects, because they've all been de-aged in a lot of the scenes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying that they think that's going to win the visual effects Oscar, but
no,
I wouldn't personally give it the win over things like The Lion King, which have been like completely constructed from scratch. And then there was something on the internet where someone's gone away and done a better job at home of de-aging the characters. And I just think, I don't know, I'm not sure, but someone made a really good point to me the other day. Despite their faces looking young, they still move like old men, and it detracted a little bit from what could have been a really good digital de-aging effect. So I enjoyed The Irishman, and I did come out of it saying it's exactly what you'd expect. But has it really stuck with me? Not really.
It was exactly what I expected. I didn't enjoy it while I was watching it. I was quite bored for quite a lot of it. The second half was better. but the second half is the length of an average film.
Yeah.
Um, I had to struggle through a film's length to get to
hmm
the second half, which was better.
Yeah.
I don't think Joe Pesci should have been in there, really.
He's very subtle in his acting style.
Yeah, it's extremely subtle.
Mm.
It's quiet. But there's other performances I think that
Yeah.
could be there that outshine it.
Yeah.
The de-aging, once you're watching it, it works
Mm.
within the film, but it's very jarring just looking at Robert De Niro.
Mhm.
I don't think it works. It's the eyes, I think, for me.
Mhm.
So it doesn't work. And I know that they actually tried to have them moving like younger men. They did actually have someone employed to be working with them on that. I've read.
There's only so much you can
But
do.
obviously didn't. Yeah, and yeah, I mean they are old men.
Yeah.
You know, you can only do so much to combat that, really.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I haven't got a lot to say about it. I will not be watching it again.
No.
Because it didn't interest me. And I mean, part of that's on me because I don't really enjoy gangster films at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But then again, I really did quite like Goodfellas.
Mm.
So yeah, it just didn't have much going for it for me personally.
It's another one of the films that's nominated for a lot of awards, so 10 again,
Ratio wise, I think it'll do the worst.
potentially. Yeah. We talked about the de-aging stuff, and there is a conversation about that winning.
No, I just can't see it.
I think Scorsese's out of the question.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think best film's out of the equation.
hmm
The actors, I think they cancel each other out.
Yeah, that's true. That's usually the case though when two people from the same film
Yeah.
go into a category. They usually do cancel each other out.
And then there's obviously the infamous category of editing,
hmm
where it often goes to a film that's unspectacular, I guess.
I just don't think that it's got many
Mhm.
chances other than this.
Yeah.
I mean, Thelma Schoonamaker's a very famous editor, and she's very successful, and she's good at what she
Mhm.
does. So I think if it was going to win anywhere, it would be this one. I don't really see it winning anywhere else.
The only other one that I think could be a real upset on the night is the costume, because they're done by Sandy Powell, but they're just suits. They are just
Yeah, I
suits.
just don't.
So
Yeah,
I'd be really upset if that happened.
I would. I wouldn't like that.
So I don't think it's looking great for The Irishman, really. It was well received in like the first couple of days it came out, and then nobody was talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
But hey, it happens.
It does.
Yeah.
So Marriage Story then.
hmm
Very different film when you put it
Against the others.
against the others.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Kramer versus Kramer, that kind of
Yeah.
1970s drama that you used to get quite a lot of, but they don't really do so much now. It's another one that has stuck with me.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay at the time. I thought it was quite powerful, but it's just really, really stuck in my brain. I loved how realistic it felt.
hmm
You believed that these characters has been together for 10 years and that they had this relationship and this bond because it wasn't just breakable. You couldn't just split and be two separate people because it doesn't work like that.
hmm
It was the little things like tying the shoelaces and, little intimacies that you just can't break off just because you've decided to separate. That really worked for me. And I think the fact that it's come from a real relationship, Noah Baumbach's actually talking about his own divorce. It really works. I think Adam Driver is superb.
Yeah.
He is fast becoming someone I will watch in anything
Yeah.
because there's something about him. He's very striking. He's different looking as well.
Yeah, he's not your conventional
Yeah, not at all. But there's something about him that just draws you to him. He's had a fantastic year
Yeah.
this year, and this is by far, I think, the best. Um, and even, I mean, I'm not a particularly big Scarlett Johansson fan, I have to say.
No.
So if there was one part of it that didn't really work for me, it was her. But even so, she's great in a great film. It does work. I'm just not a big fan, so I would have preferred it maybe if it was someone else.
Yeah.
Personally, for me.
Yeah.
I thought the script was fantastic. I really did. It felt based on reality. It really did feel like it had come from someone's actual experiences.
Mhm.
And I think that ultimately works for the film.
Okay. I don't want to be the bad cop.
No, go on.
But I
Go
will
on.
start by saying, I finished it and I was like, oh yeah, great. For me, the
Mhm.
more I've thought about it, the more I've taught myself out of that,
Yeah.
which makes me think I probably should watch it again because I don't want to be saying unfair things. But these things I think are valid.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think when you're watching a film that is based on not so much a real or true story, but about personal feelings and things like that,
Mhm.
the way you play it is very important because it can overstep a line, I think.
Mhm.
So for me, the combination of what I deem to be very blatant stylistic and artistic choices mixed with what's meant to be a very realistic story, for me
Mhm.
means that the film treads that fine line of becoming a bit pretentious. Because it's like,
Mhm.
if you're going to tell me a real story about real people having a real relationship, having things like a character breaking out into song, having clearly very scripted, dramatically delivered monologues,
Mm.
things like that, they do distance you from the story. And I think this story deserved to be told in a human way. For me, the personal felt too crafted.
Mm.
And at times, only at times, but it did ruin the authenticity of it for me. However, Adam Driver, brilliant. He outperformed Scarlett Johansson.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah,
It
absolutely.
didn't help really that I think his character was more likable than hers.
Yes.
I don't look back on her character and be like, oh, I felt sorry for her. I didn't really. I don't know why. I just didn't like her.
I think it's supposed to be the other way around as well.
I'm not sure.
Because she is saying that, he never views her as an individual. It was all
Yeah.
about, what she could bring to him.
Mhm.
So it's meant to be the other way around, but I feel like I felt more for him than I did for
Yeah.
her.
Again, maybe it's because it was Scarlett Johansson and maybe she's not very personable sometimes.
Maybe.
Not closed off, but she's not.
Colder.
Yeah, she's not someone who you immediately instinctively warm to.
No,
And there
it's
were
true.
between them, there were a couple of real standout moments. In fact, they were
Yeah.
so standout, I would hazard to say that they kind of made the rest of their performances look not as high level. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah.
So that sort of took me out as well. So again, I'm criticizing good things, which is difficult
Mm.
to do. Yeah, and the other thing is it's hard to relate to characters who are so far removed from your own lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're very theatrical.
Very theatrical, successful, wealthy, artistic people. She moves to Hollywood for
Yeah.
some TV show that is never even mentioned. We don't even
Yeah.
know what it is. They're living like this sort of high life despite their drama.
Mhm.
If Marriage Story was a gritty British social realism film, I
Mhm.
think it would work a lot better.
Yeah.
This one, it felt like it's like I want to feel sorry for you, but both have great lives still. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
not so sure. I did enjoy it though.
What do you think of its awards chances then?
Well, what's weird about this is somehow Laura Dern is winning everything.
Yeah, I don't really understand it.
Yeah,
It's a career award, I
it must
think.
be. It must be. I'd give it to any of the other nominees. Not that
Mhm.
she was bad. In fact, she was probably one of the more
No,
consistently good
no.
things about the film. So I will give
Yeah.
her that.
I like Laura Dern, I do, but I just don't see it for
Yeah.
this. Like we said, I'd rather her have it for Little Women than this.
Yeah. So overall, I don't think Marriage Story deserves any wins this year. Not to say that I don't think it will get one.
I think its only other chance really is original screenplay, but
Mm,
again, there's a lot of
yeah.
other better films in there that are probably gonna
Yeah.
take it. So,
Pretty likely. So, Joker.
mm.
And again, we've talked about this for quite a long time, so I will keep this one relatively brief. With Joker, it's all about the performance, and ultimately, I think that's all everyone's really interested in. Joaquin Phoenix makes the film; it is his film, and without him, I don't think this is a film that would have been worth making. It's a brilliant reinvention of the character. It's a plausible origin story that I think got quite a few critics shook because somehow they thought that if you exhibit the truth of the reality of, I imagine, so many people with mental health issues, it's apparently dangerous or
Mhm.
inappropriate. As far as I can see, everybody else loved this film, and they love
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix in it. My only real criticism, really, and it has weighed on me a little bit since seeing the film, although I came out absolutely buzzing. I would have preferred the film to cut ties with the Batman lore altogether, even if only for this film. Joker's name's on the poster. It's meant to be an origin story. If I wanted another Batman film, I would go and see The Batman or whatever other thing he's going to turn up in. I'd like to have seen the origin story done in some other way that didn't lean so heavily on the Bruce Wayne parents story, because I do think that's very repetitive and we've seen it a million times before. I think it would have worked just as well without relying on that, but that's it really. That's my only real criticism.
I think that was its insecurity, that they felt like they had to put that in there to satisfy, and when really it turned out they really didn't. But personally, I didn't mind it.
No, when it was on, I didn't mind it.
It's one of those little nostalgia beats, isn't it? It's like, oh, look,
Yeah.
you know, and that was fine for me. This film has grown in my estimation since I've seen it. I did think it was extremely good when I saw it, but I feel now, apart from 1917, it's probably the film that overall I feel does the most. In all its categories, I think the production design is fantastic. I think it feels gritty and grimy and grotty. You just don't want to be there. You wouldn't want to be
And
there.
it makes you understand why his character struggles so much too.
I think the score is so much a part of the film. It is ridiculous. I think it's haunting, and it really is part of the film. It's like the fact that he's actually, like, at times dancing to that score. I think that is, it's absolutely. So that's a huge part of it. I think, like you said, the performance, it is his film. It's just altogether his show, basically. And he did it to an absolute ridiculous degree. I think it's the best performance to have been nominated in decades. I think it's
Probably.
absolutely unbelievable. He just absorbed that part and it just became him, which was incredible. I even think Todd Phillips did a very good job. I know a lot of people are really harsh, very critical of him, but I mean, at the end of the day, he was the one that put the whole thing together, and it does work. I think it was an extremely well-made film, very successful, obviously, in the amount of money it's made and critically. But I think overall as a movie, it's up there with 1917 for me. I think it was superbly done, and it just all worked.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
I think it's a shoo-in for Best Actor, obviously. Other than that, I think probably only score. But then again, a lot of people are talking about 1917 now as well. Even though Joker's won 2.
I could maybe see it going to 1917 for score, which is going to make my predictions very hard because I would give it to 1917 personally.
I'd give it to Joker.
Joker's good, but I listen back to the entire soundtrack and it's kind of just the same cello sound in every track. 1917, although it's what you'd expect from a Thomas Newman track, exotic instruments and stuff like that, but it's a blend of electronic-y sounds, industrial sounds, and all this other stuff, as well as orchestrated stuff.
The only thing that doesn't work for me, Joker's sound and the score altogether, it worked for me in the film. There was parts of the 1917 score that took me out of it.
It was more showy. It was definitely more showy.
Yeah, and I was just like, why is this playing right now? And that took me out of it a little bit. So for me, I mean, it's a quibble. It really is a quibble. I mean, it was great. But that's why I would put Joker over 1917.
I
but it's
suppose
extremely close.
Joker's music works because it's an extension of the character.
Yeah.
It feels like it's part of Joaquin's performance, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
It's like the music's coming from him. It's that in keeping with the character. So, I shouldn't downplay Joker's music because it is good. It just wasn't. If I were to listen back to the score, I would choose to listen back to 1917. Does that make it better? I'm not sure. So that is an interesting category. Score.
Okay. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood then. Now, is this the oldest one? Because this came out in the summer.
I think it probably is,
This came out a long while ago.
Yeah.
So it's the oldest one. It's probably the one that's most forgettable out of the rest because
maybe.
it's such a long time. You're having to like recall things that you felt like 6 or 7 months ago, which I think may hinder it.
Yeah.
If you're too late and you come out too close, you're gonna miss.
Not enough people are
And
gonna
then
have
if you
seen it.
yeah, and then if you've come out, too early, you risk
Mhm.
people having forgotten about you.
Yeah.
So this could affect Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for that. But the best bits were its production design.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in 1960s LA. It's sun-soaked, it's nostalgic, it's just got this glow.
Mhm.
And that really worked for me. I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was really good in it. I mean, he's never not good, but he did a very interesting performance, and it goes to very different beats. At one moment he's very emotional and it's very dramatic, and another moment he's very satirical and
Mm.
it's kind of funny, kind of taking the piss really.
Mhm.
Um, so I think he's very good in it. The best scene for me was at the ranch.
Yeah.
When Brad Pitt goes there, I think that was so tense, and the editing in that moment was fantastic, and it was that sequence was the best for me. The worst one for me was the end, the violence.
Mm.
In that, it was so over the
Didn't
top. It
fit.
felt like it was a comedy,
Yeah.
and it didn't work for me. It was too much. And the thing that bothered me about it that is, it felt like he wanted you to laugh,
Mhm.
and
But this
I,
is something that
it's
really happened.
that's yeah, and that's not funny to
Yeah.
me. It's not. I mean, the what that was happening to those people, and the fact that they are crazy
Yeah.
people, they're
Yeah.
mentally ill. I didn't find that funny.
No.
It was too gratuitous for
Yeah.
me. I didn't. It didn't work for me. So yeah, it's got ups and downs. I think its length was another problem for
Yeah.
me. So yeah, it's pros and cons with that one for me. I do think it's got some really great bits, but then there's bits that I think pull it down for me
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Really similar, if I'm honest. It's similar to The Irishman in a way because, like with Martin Scorsese, they both consistently produce high quality films.
Yeah, they've got a reputation for it.
Yeah, but at the same time, their films are often very similar in the way that they're constructed, in their
Yeah.
tone. With Tarantino, because they're slower in pace, long in duration, and sort of
Mm.
meandering in style, it's one of those films that can feel really amazing when you're watching it and immersive, but ultimately it's inconsequential once it's over.
Yeah.
And although I came out and I was like, that was up my street, it
Mhm.
hasn't stuck with me very well, if I'm honest.
No.
And to commit to a repeat viewing of that and invest another 3 hours,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
easy to do. But yeah, saying that though, when I was watching it, I did feel immersed. I agree with you. It did feel like it was 1960s. This was
Mhm.
Hollywood, and
Yeah.
these were the people, the streets, the houses, the cars. The production design was on point. I was new to the Manson cult story. I knew Manson by name. I didn't really take the time in the past to understand who he was or how he did the things that he did.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy the fact that I was learning in the film, and then afterwards, because they did a few sort of historical tweaks at the end, obvious ones.
Yeah.
You do go away and sort of start googling afterwards. I do like films
Yeah.
that make you go
Yeah.
and do that, so that was a fun added element. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I echo what you say about the cast. Brad Pitt plays cool very well. Margot Robbie plays likable very well, and
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio played the fading actor very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was decent.
Awards wise, I think production design is probably a good bet for it.
Mm.
And I'd be quite happy to see it get it.
Yeah, I think it probably will.
Supporting actor, I don't understand at all. I
No, Brad
just
Pitt
don't
winning.
understand at all. He's basically playing himself.
Yeah.
He's a cool,
Mhm.
middle-aged guy, very easygoing, laid back. That just looks like Brad Pitt.
Yeah, it does.
He's not doing anything really.
No.
I don't understand it
Yeah.
whatsoever. And I just think when you look at the actual category
Mhm.
that he's in, I don't really understand. Again, I think it's probably a career award because I can't see why else he
Yeah.
would be
He would have
sweeping.
been a better nomination for Ad Astra.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he
Yeah.
was so much better in that. He really did give a great performance in that film.
Yeah. What I find interesting about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's nominations, I don't think it deserved 10, really. It's consistently good across the board, don't get me wrong, but for it to have the sound mixing and the sound editing nominations over things like Rocket Man,
Yeah.
what's the point in nominating if it's not going to win? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's like, oh, it's Tarantino.
Yeah, and he is an all-round good filmmaker, and he does give equal attention to all parts of his film, but
Yeah.
nominate the films that have a chance of winning. Don't just nominate them. I don't see the point in doing that.
Yeah.
So it could be another low win to nomination ratio, I think.
Mm.
Bearing in mind it's got 10.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So that covers 8 of the films. The 9th film, you haven't seen it yet. And I
No,
saw it last night.
Yeah.
It's hard really because Ford vs Ferrari, it's a subject matter that I had zero knowledge of and not a whole lot of interest in, if I'm really honest. However, it's the mark of a good film when you start rooting for the characters regardless,
Mm-hmm.
and for the story as a whole. So although the first 30 minutes I felt a little bit inundated with car names, makes and models, numbers, racetrack names, and a load of jargon that went over my head. After that, though, it kind of settles into the main story arc of we're Ford and we're going to build a car to rival Ferrari at the 24-hour Le Mans race. And that's where it starts taking you. And the fact that the entire last 45 minutes of the film is dedicated mostly to the race itself, and you're still kept on the edge of your seat throughout, is credit to how the film is made, really.
Yeah.
It feels like a smaller film in comparison to a lot of the other nominees, but it really does have its own personality, really. It's a very slick and smooth and attitude-filled film, and I think it's largely down to the sound design and the editing. Between them, that comprises 3 of the 4 nominations that it's got. The soundtrack and the performances as well. Matt Damon's good. Christian Bale is better.
Yeah.
Likewise, Katrina Balfe as
Love
his
her.
wife. They together are great, and they're just so much fun to watch. They're endearing, and you want to root for them. So yeah, I thought, actually, I wasn't expecting it, but I thought it was a better nominee candidate for Best Picture than some of the other films that are nominated.
It's definitely there on merit.
Yeah, it's deserving. And there's not a moment in the film where you sort of go, that wasn't very good. Ooh, that could have been better. It convinces you all the way
Yeah.
that this is what it should be. And a bit like with Parasite, it knew what it wanted to do and it did it. And you
Yeah.
can't fault that, really. So yeah.
Oh, I did like the look of the film and the fact that Katrina Balfe's in it. I love Outlander, so I'll watch anything she's in.
She's actually in it quite a bit.
Mm,
Yeah.
good. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I like Christian Bale and Matt Damon, so
Yeah.
and I'm not so much bothered about the car things. I really loved Rush. I'm not a
Yeah.
car fan by any
No,
means, but I really loved
I
Rush.
think this is better than Rush, if I'm honest.
Yeah, so I do look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Again, awards wise though,
Yeah. I don't know about the sound ones, It could win them over 1917.
yeah,
There's more sound in it. I don't know how else to say
yeah,
that, but they're all cars. It's mostly
yeah.
car sounds. But you do feel it.
I think a lot of time with the sound awards, because people don't necessarily understand how it's kind of made and
Yeah.
how the category is made up and how it's decided.
Mhm.
I think people go with what's the most obvious to them, and
What's
if it's
noisiest?
loud, yeah, if it's loud and you notice it, and
Yeah.
they tend to go with that one. As crude as that might sound,
Yeah.
it can be that simple.
Well, by that same logic, then, its editing nomination could also very much go that way. I don't know if it
Yeah.
will, because editing often goes to either undeserving films or films where the editing is much more subtle.
hmm
So I really don't know. It could go completely unseen this year. It could be the one that gets nothing,
Yeah.
or it could be the one that sweeps most of it awards.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting choice.
I think looking at it overall, the category is a very strong one. I think it's got some good films in there. I mean, they're not all going to be everyone's cup of tea, and they're not going to be ones that everybody maybe goes back and rewatches all the time. But they've definitely all got something.
I think we should announce our ranking. Yours is 8, mine is 9, but who cares?
Okay.
So I'm going to cue the fanfare. We've not played it in a while, so I thought I'm going to have to put it in.
Oh, of course. This is a big deal.
Yeah. Okay, from 9 to 1, my list is as follows. Number 9, Jojo Rabbit. Just missed the mark for me. Sorry. Marriage Story. You've got to adapt your style to suit your subject matter, and in this case, it didn't require style. So that's Marriage Story. Number 7, surprise, surprise, it's arrived here. Ford versus Ferrari. Really consistent film. Overall, it's got sort of like everything that it needed in that package, and it delivered on it really well. It nearly beat number 6, The Irishman. I'm only keeping it this high up just because it is a consistent Scorsese film, but yeah. Number 5, not as high as maybe it could have been in the past, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Good, decent, strong candidate, but 4, believe it or not, Little Women. That's much higher than I expected. Again, it knew what it wanted to do. It encompassed everything that it stood for. Number 3, I've put Joker. Although it's got the most nominations, I don't think it's necessarily the strongest one. You know, like I said, it's got the music and it's got the performance going for it, but everything else, although good, not necessarily stand out. Number 2, 1917, and it was higher, but obviously I played the harsh critic today, and I do think there are some things that could have been improved despite it being an amazing film. So which means my number 1, and I'm very good at putting foreign language films at the top of my lists, but I do think, like I said, it's hard to criticize because you could tell that Bong Joon-ho knew exactly what he wanted and he went for it. So Parasite is my number 1. Whether or not I think it should win Best Picture, I don't know. Whether or not I want it to win Best Picture, I don't know. But I think objectively it's the most consistent and the strongest and the most original of all the other films.
Okay.
That's my 9.
I have tried to be as objective as possible, looking at it overall rather than personally what I would maybe go with. So for me, I mean, Ford versus Ferrari has to be number 9 because I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Let's
So
pretend it's
it
number
has to be
8.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, my number 8 is The Irishman. I just think it's the same as what he's always done.
Yeah.
It's not to say it's not good, because you know it's always high quality with Scorsese, but I don't think there's enough to make it stand out.
Fair.
Number 7 for me is Marriage Story. Though it would make a lot higher on my favourites list, when you put it all together technically, it really is just the script and the performances that make it. It's not technically as impressive as the
Yeah,
others.
it's not got the same caliber.
Yes. Number 6 for me is Jojo Rabbit. Again, probably maybe would have gone a bit higher on my own list. But as far as, like you say, consistency and with everything working and what it achieves, it's not as good as some of the others. Number 5 for me is Parasite. Yes, I know it's not as high as you would like it to be. I've just redone it though. It could actually be a lot lower. So it's higher up than I had it before.
Right.
Because what it achieves, yes, it does achieve.
Yeah.
It's it does everything that it wants to do correctly and very successfully. It's just personally for me, it didn't quite hit the mark. But I do think it's got international in the bag, and it could quite easily take best film as well. And I could see it happening. It wouldn't upset me too much.
It could have been more groundbreaking, I think. But despite that, I think it's still really sure of itself.
Yeah, it's very good. I think the hype killed it for me because it's so hyped up. And having watched it after all the hype,
Yeah.
it's like
That can
it's
happen.
good, but it's not. Yeah. So number 4 for me is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
I just think for the length of it, it is consistent in what it does. For that whole runtime, it's the quality stays very high. Number 3 for me is Little Women. I think, like you said, it's just a very good film.
Yeah.
The script's great. The look of the film's lovely. The performances are great. It's just a high quality film, and I think in a surprising way, because after all, it is Little Women. It's been adapted so many times, but yeah, it's so successful. It's fresh. It's got something about it. So I think it's actually achieved higher than it could have done, and I think Greta Gerwig really should have been there. I really think.
Yeah, on reflection,
yeah, she really should. Number 2 for me is Joker. Because I really do think it stuck with me. tonally, aesthetically, performance-wise, score, everything about it, I think, stands out. It makes it stand out, and I think the fact that it's even in the conversation is remarkable, really. And then that makes number one 1917 for me, which may not be my favourite film out of all of the ones on the list. I don't know. I can't really decide.
It's hard, isn't it?
But I just think technically it's astonishing.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely couldn't possibly be anywhere else. It's what filmmaking's all about.
That's it. Yeah.
When you talk about filmmaking, this is what it's all about. It's about doing technical advancements, doing things differently, showing things a different way. And this just does all of that, and it's beautiful. I know we have Remembrance Day and things like that, but I think even so, I think people tend to think more of the Second World War now than they do of the First. And it is so important to remember it, why we talk about it, because we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for the sacrifices that people have made. And I do think that that message will fit in any time.
Yeah.
That's just absolute A-star for me.
Very good. Yeah, it is an amazing film, and it's a great choice to have as number one. And I do have my fingers crossed that it will win. I think it's because it's a very British film as well. So that wraps up our Best Picture in Review episode. But as we always do, we need to recommend a film.
Yes.
I won't pap on about mine because I've talked about it today already. I just want to recommend it, I guess, and echo what Bong Joon-ho said about if you get over that 1-inch barrier that is the subtitles. There's so many other great films out there. And Parasite is just one of those really, really strong original films. It just made you think, why has this story not been done before? Surely it feels so universal and right that should have been a thing already. So yeah, Parasite, I really hope it does well this year, in the same way I thought Roma should have done very well last year, and also Never Look Away, which was my top film of the year last year. Foreign films, I think they are great. We don't see enough of them. But if you're going to go see one this year, go and see Parasite if you can, because I don't think you'll regret it.
My choice this week is Rocketman. I saw this a few days ago, and I really enjoyed it, more so than I thought, because I'm not a huge Elton John fan. I don't know, his music off by heart by any means. I know a lot of the songs, by the sound of them. But this was just such a fun film. I thought Taron Egerton was fantastic. He really did give a great performance, and I mean, it was all him all the way through. It was just all on his shoulders, and he really, really delivered. And yeah, it was stylish and different, and however true it would turn out to be, I don't know, but it was good fun.
Yeah.
It was really good fun. It was very striking costumes and very colourful, and yeah, it just it was good fun. Really good laugh.
My only big gripe with the film, and I think I've probably mentioned it at some point before, is that it's a film produced by Elton John. So at the end of it, I was like, okay, that's very inspirational, but I'm only taking your word for it.
Yeah.
I don't really know many people who have produced biopics about themselves before, and I get the want to tell your story.
Yeah.
But it's a bit weird that you're promoting yourself. Yeah, pinch of salt.
Fair enough. Okay, so Matt, where can they find us?
Oh, you're testing me now.
I am.
I'm ahead of you. I've got it up. We're on Facebook and YouTube at CineChat Podcast, Instagram at CineChat_official. We're very active on Twitter nowadays at CineChat Pod. You can listen on Spotify, iTunes, or Spreaker, or you can email us at
CineChatOfficial@gmail.com.
Yes, you can. We still need ideas for future episodes. Please send them in because there's a lot of weeks to fill. Next week, I believe the BAFTAs will be taking place, but more importantly, you know what it is? It's time for our Oscar predictions.
Oh
I
gosh.
know. It's coming up so soon. So this weekend coming, it will be the BAFTA Awards, and the weekend after that is the Oscars, and then we can breathe.
It's actually gone so fast.
Yeah, not long to go, Mary.
It'll be interesting. So tune in for that.
Absolutely, not to be missed. Right, I believe that is everything, so it's goodbye from me.
No, it's goodbye for me.
Bye.